Hello Nova Online Math 161. Today we're looking at section 3.3 topic 2, domain of logarithmic functions. Write the domain in interval notation. The function that we have here is f of x equals natural log of 5 over square root of 5 minus x. Ooh. Highlight that log argument. I am highlighting 5 over square root of 5 minus x in yellow, and make a note that this log argument must be positive. Log argument can never be equal to 0 or negative. So what you're going to do to start this problem is set that 5 over square root of 5 minus x greater than 0. Okay? It's more than just that, though. This one is a very tricky problem, okay? It's not just an inequality, but we do have a square root going on here, and square root has another restriction. Remember, square root, you can't have negative number under radical, okay? So that radicand of 5 minus x, let me write that down on the side here. There's a second condition we must consider. The radicand has to be bigger than or equal to 0 to make that square root expression real. Otherwise, it's going to be imaginary. So what you're going to have to also consider is that 5 minus x must be a positive number. So really, we got two inequalities to solve here, okay? And when we're done solving them, we must satisfy both, so we will find their intersection, okay? The right side is easier, but let me start with this one on the right. This is what you just learned in section 2.6. This is the rational inequalities. So when you're solving rational inequalities, you must find the 0 of the numerator and the 0 of the denominator, okay? Look at the numerator first. Can 5 ever be equal to 0? No, not really, right? So we don't have to look at the 0 of the numerator in this case, but let's go just to the 0 of the denominator case. So set the bottom of the fraction equal to 0. Square root of 5 minus x equals 0. What we are trying to say is, what we're trying to find is the restricted value, what's not allowed. Because listen, you cannot have 0 in the bottom of the fraction. I'm not saying that it's going to be equal to 0. We're trying to avoid that x value that will make this fraction undefined. So we're finding the restricted value so that we can put an open circle there, okay? Like a hole there. So let's solve this. To get rid of square root, square both sides. When you square the left side, you will just get 5 minus x out. But when you square the right side, 0 squared is just 0. To solve this, how about I just move this negative x to the right-hand side, and we will get 5 equals, and negative x, that turns into positive x. So we have 5 equals x, or x equals 5. So guys, when x is equal to 5, this fraction will be undefined. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to draw a number line here, and I'm going to put a 5, and we'll put an open circle here. When we plug in 5 into this function, then we're going to end up getting 5 minus 5, and that's 0. And square root of 0 will make the entire fraction to be 5 over 0, and 5 over 0 is undefined. That's why we put an open circle at 5, okay? But there is one more condition to satisfy here, right? Remember that square root expression, how whatever is underneath square root must be greater than or equal to 0. So here's that second branch of work that we must continue now. So we said 5 minus x must be greater than or equal to 0. So if I move this negative x, I'm sorry. this negative x to the right-hand side, here's what we get. We get 5 is greater than or equal to x. But if you want to talk in terms of x's point of view, when 5 is bigger than x, well then x is smaller than or equal to 5, right? So look, we got another condition to satisfy. So we're looking for the intersection of not 5. Okay, I should make a note here. X cannot be 5 because that's the restricted value. So you know what? I should have just put like not equal to. That's probably better. X can't be equal to 5. Also, the x has to be smaller than or equal to 5. But remember, this first part, we already kind of concluded that x can't be equal to 5. So we're not gonna consider the 5, because if you plug in 5, the function will be undefined. So what we have to do is just pick all the numbers that are smaller than 5. So I'm gonna go to the left side of 5, and we got the domain. The domain of this function, this natural log function, is everything to the left of 5, not including 5. And interval notation, that will be negative infinity to 5. But you make sure to draw a parenthesis after 5 instead of square bracket. Drawing a square bracket is like telling them that you can plug in 5. 5 is included, but 5 is not allowed. So for this problem, I think this was a very challenging one because we had to remember everything from different pieces, like domain of square root function. Also, how to solve rational inequality from 2 different lessons that we learned in previous modules. But remember, when you are finding a domain of a log function, natural log, common log, any type of log function, make sure to set the log argument greater than 0 because they must be positive.